Hello, Marvel fans. We're the Hilsmaniacs, and today we're going to be giving our thoughts and review on WandaVision Episode 8. Of course, just like last week's was the biggest episode of the season, this one got even bigger because it was a series, it took us through a series of flashbacks on how everything went down. So let's talk about it. First of all, the episode started off with a flashback of basically Agatha Harkness back in the time of the Salem witch trials, I would assume.
Yeah.
It said Salem, Massachusetts in the
Mm-hmm.
little card
It
thing.
was
So,
definitely the witch trials.
and she was kind of being accused of being a witch by, I guess, it's a cult or like a coven thing or
Yeah.
something. I've heard
It's called a
coven
coven.
from like the comics or something, but I guess her mother was a part of it, and they were accusing her
Mm-hmm.
of being a witch, and that she broke their rules or something like that, and then she basically kills them all.
Yeah.
And then she took the brooch from her mother too.
Yeah.
Before she got
And
the brooch.
I thought what was gonna happen was that the people were gonna try and burn her and then she'd like get out, but like it was actually like her own people, her own witch friends and stuff decided to get rid of her because she broke the rules or overstepped the bounds of like using their powers and stuff. But like she either absorbed their powers or she was stronger than the beams that were being ejected, so
That's kind
then
of what it
she
looked
pushed
like.
her purple power out and made them like die of old age or
Made them
something.
die of old age. Yeah,
Yeah, seriously.
they're basically their bodies like aged really bad. Like they looked
Yeah.
like
And
mummies or zombies or something when they
yeah,
died.
it
But
also happened with her mother, and
mhm.
her mother was basically like the queen of the whole coven because
That's what it
whenever
seems like.
she was floating first off, and like none of the other ones were floating, but then whenever she kind of like ranks up, I guess, after all the other people die, and then she has like this blue crown on her head
Yeah,
whenever
he was
she
trying to
shoots it.
stop Agatha, and then like Agatha pushed back and ended up
Yeah,
killing her. It was kind
and
of like a
Agatha's
nice,
stronger than her mother.
yeah, it was kind of a nice little like kind of I guess like a villain origin story
Yeah.
type thing, but also it kind of showed that Agatha has been around for a long time. Like
Mm-hmm.
she's been a witch since what was it,
Yeah,
1693 or something,
1600s.
so
We'll
something
just
like
say
that.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
late
forget what the exact
1600s.
date it said on there was,
It was
but
probably 1693.
so she's been around for a long time, and then it basically cut into modern times, like following up with the ending of last week's episode where Wanda was down in Agatha's basement and she revealed that she's Agatha Harkness,
Mm-hmm.
and Agatha reveals that even though the song last week said it was Agatha all along, she reveals that Wanda created the hex, but she came to Westview to find out how Wanda created the hex, essentially. And
Yes.
so Wanda did do all the stuff in Westview,
Mm-hmm.
which is a lot better than than having a story of where Agatha actually did it. So I'm liking
Yeah.
that it's actually still Wanda. But
I
she
told you.
basically
I told
she
you it wasn't Agatha. Get wrecked.
that song lied to us. She basically wanted to find out how Wanda was able to do this because that would make Wanda like more powerful than her, because she even said it took her years of practice just to learn how to do spells herself,
Yeah, she's been
or like even
learning
conjure up
for at
anything
least
now.
300 years.
And
She's been
Wanda
doing
just
this.
came in and like did this whole thing, so she
Yep.
wants to know how. So she basically forces Wanda to live through some of the memories of her past in order to find out. So like
Oh
she
yeah, but
sends her through a
before
series
we go to
of flashbacks.
those memories, Agatha, like her house, she basically set up her own house basically in Westview, and she created this basement, and there were like runes on the wall that
Yeah.
allowed only the witch that made them, that like conjured up the runes, to be able to use their powers. So Wanda was trying to use her powers, but she couldn't. So then um, with Agatha, she was able to like bound up Wanda to like try and interrogate her, but Wanda didn't know how she made the hex,
Yeah, like
really.
basically Wanda couldn't remember how she did it, or she was trying not to remember. I guess like she was trying to suppress it 'cause she didn't want to tell anybody how she did it. And then Agatha's like, "Well, we're gonna do this because I have your kids, and if you want them back, you're gonna come with me." And then they kind of go through this door that's there.
Mm-hmm.
Agatha uses some magic, conjures up this door, and they walk through it into Wanda's past, essentially. So basically, the first flashback that we see, this was kind of like, it felt like a Christmas Carol to me. If you've ever seen
Yep.
that movie, where like the ghost takes Scrooge through his different periods of his life so he can learn a lesson. So like you see his past, present, and future. Only for Wanda, it's more just everything from her past. But still, this is what it felt like. Like Agatha and Wanda are standing there, but the people in the vision can't actually see them there.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
her
what
first
was
flash.
weird?
What was that?
Hold up. What was weird was that like in at least the first two, I think, she was able to like kind of take the role of
Oh yeah, like
her as a younger person,
she kind
which
of
was
relived
weird.
it. Yeah, like the first flashback, it took us back to when she and Pietro were kids with their parents.
Mm-hmm.
And like we learned where she got the idea for the sitcoms though, because
Yeah.
her parents had these American sitcoms in Sokovia. I don't know if they stole them or what. They were in like a box, or they were gonna sell them or something,
Yeah.
and they had them on DVD. I guess it
Mm-hmm.
was, and they would watch them and stuff, and that made her happy and everything else. And then all of a sudden there's this crash and like everything
Yeah. Just
kind of breaks. So and
like
that's the
milliseconds.
time that the missile came, the Stark missile that they talked about in Age of Ultron, crashed through their house and killed her parents, but it never blew up. It just
Mm-hmm.
crumbled everything. So we get that little flashback as well, and we get to see the origin of like where she got the sitcoms. And
And
then
with the bomb, like it was ticking just like that toaster, which like that there's been
that's
like
yeah,
references to it before, but like we actually got to see it now and understand that like that's kind of like how it's been
that's where
tying
it's
into the
yeah, that was
commercials.
her, the toaster in the commercials and stuff was her subconscious like reliving all these events. But
Yeah.
now she's actually reliving them. And I guess even as a kid, it seems like she sort of had magic because she was going to use, in the flashback at least, we could see she was going to use magic on the, I guess, on the nuke or the missile or whatever to do something to it, but then she got pulled back out of the. So I don't know if she wasn't powerful. She had powers from the beginning of her life, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, and then we get the second flashback reveals how she, years later when she's more of an adult, she volunteered. We get to see into the Hydra facility where she and Pietro, like we see them at the end of Age of Ultron, or I guess at the end of Winter Soldier, but
Yeah. Yeah.
where they were experimented on with Loki's scepter and everything else. Here it turns out that Wanda actually volunteered for that because I
Mm-hmm.
guess what was it, like she wanted to make a difference in the world or
Yeah.
something.
She wanted to make the world a better place, I guess, by like maybe getting rid of Stark Industries because that's like what her.
Yeah, and then we find out that they sent in the scepter. They were testing the scepter on other people, I guess, but or using the Infinity Stone on other people, but it wasn't. They were dying. I guess it was kind of like the
Yeah.
symbiote thing in the Venom movie, where they were trying
Oh
it on
yeah.
people, and if they didn't connect with it, it would kill them. So Wanda basically was able to almost absorb it, or like absorb the energy at least from it, and that enhanced her powers, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
Because we know inside Loki's scepter was the Mind Stone, and that's it. Sort of enhances the power she already had, I guess. And you can kind of see too when they break it open, you can see like the Scarlet Witch almost coming out of it, like she was kind of like
Yeah. Like it was trapped.
yeah, kind of like with Jean Grey and like the Phoenix Force, how it like comes into her, and that's how she got her powers.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what I took out of that. It was sort of something like that, like maybe the Scarlet Witch was like an alternate or like a different version of Wanda or something that made her more. It's like a separate personality or something. It
Yeah,
came
but
out of the Mind
what
Stone.
was what was weird was that when Hydra was looking back at the tapes, it just jump cut to when she fainted.
Oh yeah,
It
that
didn't
too.
show any of the scepter breaking or any of the like like seeing the Mind Stone, right? Yeah, the
Yeah,
Mind Stone.
because she was walking forward, and then all of a sudden she's just on the ground, and they're like, "What happened?" You know, like they have no idea that it even, unless it didn't even actually break open, and she was just kind of
Yeah, that was like an
seeing it or
imaginary thing.
something. Like it was in her head, like that's what her powers were
Yeah.
doing, and then
Well,
she.
because obviously it didn't break because in Age of
Yeah, because
Ultron,
Ultron had to break
Ultron
it.
broke it, had to break the scepter open. But like Wanda could see that the Mind Stone was in there before it was even broken up.
I mean, I don't know what all exactly that really would mean then. That, like, if there was some kind of being trapped inside it, or if she just was seeing all that. But yeah, it shows her basically sitting in a cell afterwards. She's watching her another sitcom, like on the little TV and stuff. Then it cuts back to Agatha and Wanda talking again. Like they're in
Mm-hmm.
the room, but they're not really there, you know?
Yeah.
And then we get a third flash. It's just continuous with these flashbacks. Like they walk through a door and now they're in
Yep.
this place. And so the
And
third,
the doors were even different. Like
the
the
doors
door
change
looked like a
too.
Hydra door, or it looked like well, the one we're going into is the Avengers compound, so it looks like one of the doors from the Avengers compound. So it kind of like, I don't know, it kind of like fit in.
Because the next flashback we see is like Wanda reliving right after, I guess it was after the events of Age of Ultron. She's like sad about she lost Pietro and everything, and then Vision is there and he's like comforting her. She
Hmm.
tells Agnes or Agatha that this was the first like real home she and Vision sort of had together because they had to stay there and stuff.
Yeah.
And that plays into everything, you know, like that we've seen over the MCU and stuff, like how they're staying in the Avengers compound, and like Tony thinks Wanda should stay there after the events of Civil War and everything else. We
Hmm.
kind of see that's kind of the spark of their relationship, I guess,
Yeah.
with Vision.
And we kind of got a little bit more of a backstory with Vision in a way. Like he's kind of understanding what laughter is. He's understanding like
Yeah,
funny stuff. And
she kind of
again,
teaches
she's
him
watching a
feelings.
sitcom again.
Yeah, she's like teaching him feelings and stuff that he, because he's just a robot, you know, he doesn't really know
Yeah.
like laughter and all that stuff. So they sit there and watch the sitcom together and stuff like that. It was different sitcoms too. Like the original one was like Bewitched, I think, and then there was so it's just some other ones that basically
What
WandaVision
she
was
lived
based
through
off.
in WandaVision, yeah.
Yeah, the ones that she created there. And then we get one last flashback, the fourth one that we see. Wanda. It flashes back to when Wanda went to the sword facility because she wanted Vision back.
Mhm.
She remembers back to this. She basically just walks in essentially because she walks up to the front desk. She's like, "I know his body is here. I'd like to give him a proper funeral and all this stuff." And then they let her in to see Hayward, who was the director of this, obviously, and he shows her where they have Vision's body, but it's being all ripped apart and stuff. And
Yeah.
she goes down there, and then he lets her just kind of like mourn her in a way, but he doesn't let her take the body. Keep that in mind because that is important
Yeah.
to everything that's
And
going on.
she
We'll
tries
talk
to
about that
use her
later.
powers. She like puts her hand over like where the Mind Stone used to be, and she was like, "I can't feel you anymore," or something like that.
Yeah, like she said, I can't feel, because originally, like in Infinity War and stuff, she's like, I can feel you, I just feel you, and all this stuff. And now that he does, I guess because he doesn't have the Mind Stone, she can't really feel him, and he's dead. So
Yeah.
you know, there's that too. But it's basically what Hayward tells her is the reason they were taking him apart is because they wanted to dismantle. The way he put it was dismantle the most sufficient sentient weapon ever created. Like take him
Mhm.
apart so he can't be used in the wrong hands and things like that. And she just kind of like leaves the sword facility, which contradicts stuff that Hayward told Monica and Jimmy
Yeah.
Woo in a
He
previous
was
episode. We'll
he
get
was
back
lying
into
from the
that later.
start.
Yeah, he's basically a liar, but we'll talk about that in a moment. And then we're shown why Wanda chose to go to Westview. It turns out that she and Vision had selected a house in Westview, I guess. Um, there's like, she has like a picture or something of Westview, and it says where we'll grow old together on it or something with
Yeah.
like a heart. So like I guess she and Vision picked out a home where they could live together if they ever started a life, and then of course that got interrupted with Infinity War and everything else. So that's why she chose to go to Westview. She goes there. There's no house there. I don't know if it was ever there or if they were gonna like,
Yeah,
we'll go
maybe
here,
they
we'll
were
build a house
starting.
together,
Maybe they were starting the house preparations, starting to build it,
and then because
but or it could have just been demolished, like during the 5 years that they weren't there.
so then because of that, she sort of has a breakdown, and then that's when she creates the whole hex. Like everything turns black and white, just like the first episode of WandaVision. We
Yep.
see she takes over the whole town. That's where the hex was originated, and that's why she created it. Now, back in the normal time, Wanda basically outside of her visions, like she's back from having these flashbacks and stuff.
Mhm.
She basically confronts Agatha out in the street, and Agatha's got her two kids sort of held by like a magical chain thing or something. And Agatha explains to Wanda that she is a. She says, "You're using chaos magic, Wanda, and that makes you a Scarlet Witch." Which this is the
Dun
first
dun
time we actually
dun.
hear. Yeah. This is the first time we actually hear her called the Scarlet Witch in the MCU. Like in the comics,
Mhm.
she's known as Scarlet Witch, that's her character. But we didn't actually hear that in the MCU, probably because she, if she would have been in the X-Men universe, she probably would have been called that. We don't even really get Pietro called Quicksilver either, honestly. So,
Yeah, it's just Pietro and Wanda. Yeah.
she tells her like basically that you're like the most powerful witch. You're supposed to be. You were supposed to be like a myth or a legend or something. She says
Mhm.
where you can create beings out of nothing, and here you are using it to create breakfast for dinner and all that. Like
Yeah.
she's basically telling her you're wasting your powers. So that's kind of we get this reveal of how powerful Wanda is. Wanda actually did create the hex, but Agatha came here trying to get her to reveal how. Is essentially what
Yeah.
Agatha all along really meant, was that she was causing all these disruptions to figure out how
Yeah,
Wanda did this.
to try and dig deeper into like the how of everything.
And then, of course, there is another end credit scene. So make sure if you've watched WandaVision but didn't know there was an end credit scene, go
Go
check it
watch
out. Or
it.
it's actually the mid credit scene, but whatever. Just like last week, they had the Snooper's gonna snoop thing with Monica looking down into Agatha's basement and stuff. They have an end credit scene here where it turns out that even though Hayward told everybody that Monica or that Wanda stole Vision's body from the facility, we saw in the flashback earlier that she didn't. She never took Vision's body. And that's because Hayward still has it. And they
Mhm.
used it to. They bring back Vision basically as like this all white.
Oh, blue,
Like,
blue.
what's that? Oh,
Yeah,
it was like a
blue, isn't
white
he?
and light blue aqua color version of Vision. So
Sure,
I'm
whatever.
assuming he's going to be evil, or this is like a new sentient weapon. They weren't actually dismantling Vision to dismantle him. They were dismantling him to try and put him back together to use him. But all these other things that they used as like a power source weren't working, so they needed part of Wanda's powers for that.
Yeah,
This is why
they needed that drone from
they used the
I can't
drone
remember
that
what
she
episode.
carried out of the hex in the one episode that still had her powers kind of crawling around it. They
Yeah.
used that. Now there's this like all white version of Vision. I guess that means at least Hayward is evil. I don't know if that means Sword is, or I wouldn't even call him evil. I'd just say it's more like one of those the bad guy who's trying to do right or thinks he's trying to do right by
Yeah.
creating some evil being. I'm curious how this is all going to play out. Is they're going to send this new Vision in, and then like maybe since Monica's inside the hex too, maybe we're going to get Monica and Wanda taking out this new Vision. But where does Agatha fit into all this? Like what do
Right.
you think?
It's like a two villains, one hero type of thing, or like a tag team, I guess you could say. But like I don't think that I don't think that Sword or Hayward and Agatha are together at all. So they're gonna Wanda and Photon or Spectrum or whatever the frick
Whatever they call her.
are
Yeah.
gonna they're going to be fighting a battle on two different fronts. They're going to be fighting Agatha, and then they're going to have to revert to fighting Blue Vision, White Vision, whatever. Um,
Blue Vision.
but Vision could also come back and be fighting Vision while they're fighting Agatha as well. because
Yeah,
we never saw Vision. He was still flying back, I guess, and he didn't get there yet. But he'll
yeah.
probably be
We haven't
back in
seen
the
Vision
next
at all
episode.
in this episode, other than the like fake one outside of Westview.
Yeah, and we'll
And
probably be seeing everybody in the next
probably it's
episode
gonna be
because
this big
it's like the
climactic
finale,
battle. There'll
So,
probably be this big epic battle at the end or
hmm
something. But my prediction. Well, first of all, I forgot to mention that also when Wanda created the hex, she created Vision just like she created her kids. Basically, she
oh yeah,
manifested him as his own, basically as his own living being. That's why he's still able to question things and stuff. She's not actually controlling him. She created him, but we were led to believe from the beginning, because Hayward's a scumbag,
yeah,
that she stole his body and just recreated him. And that would still make sense why he doesn't remember anything outside of Westview, because the Mind Stone was, like I said last week, the Mind Stone could have been like his battery or like memory chip or something. But
hmm
now we know
and
the truth
yeah, he's
that
not even like his physical form anymore.
he's not
He's
even
just
really
a
himself,
different
anyways.
thing. Yeah,
But
and
even like Darcy Lewis doesn't know that either, because she was
yeah,
talking to him. So, like, he's there, he's real, just like her kids are, but it's not the real Vision. So now I think we're gonna get like the battle of Vision versus Vision or something like that.
hmm
That'll be interesting.
yeah.
But
And did you realize that while Wanda was creating the hex, she was going through like the same pain making Vision as she was giving birth to the kids. Like
that's, yeah, it was
kind
kind
of
of
like
like,
the
because
same pain face that she had. Like she was
yeah,
going through the same stuff making Vision as she was giving birth.
it was almost like he was part of her.
Yeah, and like
Just
the
like
stuff was like
kids are
coming out
part
of
of
her
your body.
chest and her hands and stuff. It was
Yeah,
cool.
it was like a, yeah. So she recreated him out of part of herself, probably, which probably explains why she's slightly losing her powers and stuff. And then she creates kids. Basically, that means Agatha drove her to have kids and all this other stuff because she wanted to see if Wanda would reveal herself, that how powerful she is, and reveal
Mhm.
to her how she got this power and how she did all this in the first place. My prediction for next week, I guess, for the finale episode, unless there's another season, but this is the last episode of this season, so my prediction, I guess, would be that like maybe Agatha, by the end of it, maybe Agatha uses Wanda as a source to create the multiverse. Like, I want your power and stuff, and then maybe she'll either take Wanda's powers or take some of what, or kind of use Wanda, like brainwash Wanda or something into opening the hex completely to create the multiverse. Probably, we still, I mean, it's still not set in stone that Mephisto isn't behind Agatha. Like, maybe Agatha will bring Mephisto into the MCU. Like, I don't
Hmm.
know exactly what's going to happen, but I would assume from this as well, finding out how powerful Agatha really is, that
Yeah.
maybe she'll be the villain of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and Wanda will
Maybe.
go to Doctor Strange to help her take down Agatha. So like maybe Mephisto won't even come into the MCU yet.
Right.
I don't. That's what everyone's theory is, but I don't know if that's gonna happen. Right, at least
And
from this show.
there's also theories that like um if Agatha like someone's Mephisto or Agatha's like very powerful, so like if Wanda kind of loses her kids or something and she opens up the multiverse to find her kids that are like the exact same as the kids that she had. But I'm thinking maybe like if Agatha opens up the multiverse, she could be escaping from Wanda, trying to find a different reality where like she wins or something. That could also be
True, because if
a theory.
Wanda, I mean, they didn't even really like Agatha didn't call Wanda like a Nexus being, which is what she's known as in the comics, which means she's
Right.
the
Yeah.
same in like every reality.
Mhm.
Maybe that will come into play next week as well. Like she'll start to realize like Wanda's the same everywhere I go or something, whatever. But like,
Yeah. If she goes into the
I think that's
multiverse
the
and she'll realize that she can't win because Wanda's the same.
there's also the possibility that Wanda expands the hex to protect herself. Like maybe that is like a defense mechanism, but it also opens up like the multiverse. Like she expands it enough where it covers the whole Earth to stop all this fighting between like Vision and all them, I guess. I don't really know. I mean, there's so many pieces that could play out, and I
Mm-hmm.
hope it's this big epic battle at the end because this does feel like the movies now.
Yeah.
Like from the beginning of the show until now, it's like a lot different, and it does feel like
Mm-hmm.
like an MCU movie, like it's a Scarlet Witch solo movie or something.
Yeah, and they've been ranking up for this this big fight scene. You know, like all the movies before the Avengers, all setting up different
The
plot points, and
climax.
then just to come together and to fight the big bad or the big sad.
And I like the big sad. Yeah, well, that's what Wanda would be, the big sad. What did you guys think? If you've seen episode 8 of WandaVision, what did you guys think of it? Let us know down in the comments section. Also, do you think Hayward or just Hayward is evil, or is all of Sword evil? Let us know that down in the comments as well. Also, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more. We will be covering the final episode of WandaVision, and then we'll probably do a review of the entire series, like what we thought about it at the end. It's probably
Mm-hmm.
in 2 weeks' time, and then we'll be talking. We'll get into Falcon and the Winter Soldier and all the other shows after that. So, thank you for watching the video, everyone, and we'll see you in the next one.
Subscribe.